I'll reorganize them all right now.
All good. All good. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Carrie, where are you coming from?
Hi there. Sorry. I'm in North San Diego County.
Oh, awesome. What part?
Well, right, I'm in Fallbrook.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. How long have you been in Fallbrook?
Uh, gosh, a long time, a long time. I came here from Encinitas because my parents are here, and so I'm still here. Been here a while.
Do you mainly focus on Fallbrook as a market or do you work all over the
Yeah,
county?
I go all over, and since we're close, I've gone into Temecula. I've even gone up to Lake Elsinore. I go all over San Diego County, but mostly try to focus on North San Diego County.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's kind of nice. The one thing nice about Fallbrook is it gives you the option to head up to Temecula and Murrieta and
Yeah.
more. I did not know that Canyon Creek was like a gated city. I didn't even know about it. Somebody had told me about it. We had a partner up there and she was talking about it. And I was like, there's gated cities in Southern California. Did not know.
I don't know about it being a city. I don't even know about it. So you're a step ahead of me and I'm closer.
It, just a bunch of people with their nose in the air that wanted to make sure that people knew that they were special, you know?
Oh,
That's it.
that's
It's
very important.
yeah, that's very important. All right. Getting right into it. So last week we covered the different lead sources that people work, and we talked about the process of setting appointments and whatnot. And so, my experience around this is that most of my business, because when I first got into real estate, selling homes, I had all this lead gen experience, I had all this CRM experience, but the reality is that my sphere of influence was not going to be one. I had traveled the country a little bit. I had grown personally quite a bit. My previous sphere of influence was not buying houses. They did not view me as somebody that, was somebody that they would want to work with. I was kind of a young guy, kind of a rebel. And so, I didn't actually want to tap into my sphere of influence simply because I just didn't want to. I thought it would be easier to convince strangers that they could trust me to work with them in a home than convince some of my friends. And I never really wanted to be that sales guy that's like, hey, I got my license and you want to buy a house from me. And truthfully, I was also, like, man, if I'm going to make mistakes, I don't want to make mistakes in my sphere of influence. And so whether that was a limiting belief or not, or whether, it was a good idea or not, I was so comfortable with reaching out to people and calling them that it was just easier and made more sense. And I could talk to people that were more motivated and more qualified and do internet lead gen. And so that was the kick that I was on. And so, when I went out and I started my real estate team, the first thing I did is I went out and secured a lender to pay for half the budgeting. And they were paying, I was paying about $2,000 a month, and I got a lender to give me $2,000 a month within weeks of being licensed. And the funny part about it was I met with three lenders. I'll never forget this story because as a looking back on it, I was very excited. I was going to take over the world and blah 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 blah. But it was pretty a lot of audacity to go to a lender. And I remember I met with three, and the first two they asked me the very same questions, and they were like, "Well, how long have you been licensed?" I'm like, "1 week." And they're like, "And how many homes have you sold?" I'm like, "Absolutely none." And they're like, "And you want how much money?" I'm like, "I want $24,000 this year." And they were like, "Do you know how broke I would be if I just gave every new agent $2,000 a month every time they joined real estate?" And I just asked them, "Well, how many of them have had the experience that I have?" Because I already knew that I talked to hundreds of agents and thousands of agents in my career. I'd already known, I knew their concern was relevant from a generic perspective, but I also was like, well, if there's anybody that's going to pull it off, it's going to be me. And the third lender was like, I have no clue what you're talking about, dude, but I've been wanting to do this with somebody, and it's not really my money anyway because I work for a big corporation and I have a budget for this kind of stuff. So let's give it a shot. And we made a lot of money together. And so most of my business, 90 something plus percent, came from outbound calling, canceled leads, expired leads, a little bit of for sale by owner, but not a lot. We don't have a lot in San Diego. And when I was selling real estate, and even now, like a lot of the for sale by owners, they will sell because there's such limited inventory, and they will do all right because the demand is outpacing the supply. And so, I had a hubris element to me where I'd already made so many cold calls that I didn't want to just Google a Tom Ferry script or go get a Buffini script. I wanted to, go in there and try to figure out my own way, my own style, my own system. And so, the first year we sold 33 homes, and second year we sold about 33 homes because we had a massive amount of process issues and training issues and overexpanded too quickly. And I've never sold less than 33 homes. That was kind of like the magical number. The first 3 years I did that. In 2020, I sold 50. And when I was in full-time productivity, the average agent takes like 100 contacts to get an appointment. I was taking 19. And so what that meant was I only had to have 19 conversations with people, and I would set an appointment. And so there's things that I'm going to teach you guys today that is running with my brokerages. I've got agents that have been in the business for a few months that are implementing this well. Sometimes experienced agents have a challenge working this system, primarily for two reasons. One, they have a negative connotation around scripting because most scripts, they don't understand the psychology behind it. They don't want to sound like a robot. They feel like they're being, they don't feel like a real professional. They have all this negative connotation around scripting. And the second reason is that just they've got bad habits. And so when I go over this stuff with you guys, and I explain this to my brokerage, I explain it to them that, hey, there are words, and there are the way we use some of these words will actually cause them to trigger bad responses in the prospect, and it'll actually stop us from getting getting into a relationship or a conversation with them. And so some of those words we'll cover today, and I'm going to teach you the formula that I use, and there's a psychological element to it. And we use the same opening line, whether it's recruiting, whether it's doing lead generation, buyers, sellers, referrals, open houses. It's the same thing because as humans, we have a certain type of behavior. And so let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me open this up real quick. Okay, when you're working leads, it's important to understand what the lead source is, where it's coming from. Hey, Barb, what the lead source is, where it's coming from, and understanding their process, right? And so we have a saying in our office. All we're going to talk about today, by the way, is converting leads. Prospecting and selling can be a lot of fun if you're successful at it, and if you're not successful at it, it's one of the worst things on the planet, right? Anybody that says they love cold calling hasn't done it long enough. That's what I always say. But there's some things that we understand from a psychological level that allows us to not trigger bad responses and create more conversation. So, for example, when we're talking about Facebook leads, right? We talk about Facebook leads, buyer leads. We have to understand that 10% of everybody, no matter what we do, they're going to tell us to kick rocks. So why is that important to know? You could say the perfect script with the perfect conversation, with the perfect energy, and 10% of the time, you're still going to get shut down. You're still going to get a negative Nancy. You're still going to get that. So 10% of the time, you just have to just like water off a duck's back. Just let it roll over you. No big deal. It's not personal. They're not going to remember who you are, and it doesn't matter. 10% of the time, people are going to be ready to buy or sell in the next 90 days, right? People are online searching for homes. They're in that space. 10% of the people are going to be in that space where for the right value, for the right conversation, they have a really great opportunity to set an appointment with. 80% of everybody else is all in that space of they could be ready in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, 24 months. They're all over the board. Okay. And so what we typically recommend almost always is to take away some of their objections. What are some of their objections? Nobody wants to work with a salesperson. Nobody likes salespeople in general. Now, some people admire good salespeople, but in a general rule of thumb, most people do not like salespeople. And so if you try to push them, if you try to close them, if you try to rush their timeline, they're not going to respond to you in a positive manner. And a lot of these sales and scripting processes, like the 10 days of pain or the 10 days of gain or these cold calling programs, they have this mindset of fear around if you don't get them right away, you're never going to get them. And the reason why that saying is true for most people is because they don't have good follow-up and nurture systems, and they don't stay in touch with people. So all these teams and brokerages, they build their whole process around this burnout style work ethic because they don't know how to follow up with them and nurture them long term. But we have the right systems in place. We teach agents how to set them up. And so we don't have to try to hard close them now for fear we won't get them later, because we know we're going to get opportunity to talk to them again and again and again if we offer them value. Okay, this lead line right here, again, it's the same, whether we're talking to an open house, Facebook, etc. You guys can see my screen, right? Give me a thumbs up, Sonia, if you see it. Yep. All right. So we always start out with this. And when we say it, the formula is familiarity, power, and kindness. Okay, so familiarity. And you guys have heard me say this a million times over. Hey, Sonia. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Barb. Hey, John. Even if I've never spoken to you before, I'm always going to say your name as if I'm familiar, because if I have a familiar tone and people hear that, then they don't think, oh, this is a sales guy trying to sell me something. They're like, who is it? How do I know them? And sometimes, a lot of times, people will just pretend they know who you are too and be nice to you because they're nervous that maybe you really do know them, and they don't want you to feel bad that they forgot who you are. Okay, so psychologically, hey, Sonia. And then there's a pause there, because if I rush through it, it doesn't allow them time to think. Most salespeople go very fast in the cold call. One, because they're nervous. And two, there's this like weird thing. To me, it's very weird. We're nervous about them hanging up. So we speak faster as if we say it all super, super fast, and they can't say no. And it's like, well, think about it. When somebody comes up into your space quickly, you want to get back just as quickly. When somebody approaches you in a nice, calm manner, your guard stays down. And so one of the things I used to tell people, speak to them as if you're calling your grandmother with the pace and the speed of the call, and speak slowly because they haven't familiarized themselves with your vernacular, your pace, the way you speak. We all have different ways we speak in regards to accents and pauses, and there's so many different ways. And over the phone, it gets lost in translation sometimes. Without the verbal, without the visual cues and being able to see their mouth and be able to hear it with our ears with no interference, oftentimes, as much as it can be a crystal clear call, you'll notice that, I mean, think about when you pick up a phone call. If they go really fast, you're like, wait, who's this? What are you saying? Wait, and now you're on your heels. So we start out with familiarity. Hey, Sonia, little small pause, not a long time, little small pause. This is Josh Pono. And when we say our name, right, we want to be confident in who we are. Most salespeople, they're very nervous. They feel like they're doing something dirty. There's an element of shame to it. They don't really like it. And so when they're doing these things, they're coming off as unconfident. And unfortunately, if you come off as unconfident from the get-go, it devalues everything you say later. If you're nervous about what you're doing, we associate that with untrustworthiness, right? Or we associate that with a lack of experience. And so it's really important that when you deliver these lines, you're feeling good, you're smiling, you're going slow, and we hit the high point with kindness of good afternoon, right? And there's a little bit of that on it, good afternoon. Hey, happy Tuesday, right? Like, I always want them to think that I love what I'm doing. Right? I always want them to think that I'm a good, positive person. I always want them to think that I'm nice and kind. I want to think that I'm upbeat, because that stuff is attractive, right? Even negative people don't like being around other negative people, right? And so we want to be attractive and we want to be interesting, right? Because when salespeople call, they're not very interesting. And so sometimes people will say, well, I get not interested a lot, and they're looking for something magical from me. And I'm like, well, maybe you should be more interesting, right? And the way we do that is with our energy, with our approach, right? Ooh, this is different, right? Your difference in delivery is very, very important. And when you nail this line, I always laugh because we listen to a ton of recorded sales calls. When you mess up this line, the quality of response is much lower. When you nail this line, you're feeling good, you're smiling, the pauses were there, the tone was there, the energy was there. You'll get some of the warmest responses you've ever seen. Even when they don't know you, they're like, well, shoot, I don't know Sonia, but I like Sonia. Hey, Sonia, good afternoon to you too, right? Like you'll just encourage them to come on this journey with you. I could talk about this line and all the value in it for hours and hours and hours. And the reason why I'm in love with it is because it made my life better, easier, more enjoyable. It led me to connect with really great people. And they would say things to me like that. You know, I knew from the very minute you called me, there was something different about you. And then the trust would just come out and they would liken me to being different, which meant everything I said afterwards was heard differently. Okay, so it's, hey, Sonia, it's Josh Pono. Good afternoon, right? Now, I don't script out the next part. I've talked to you about it before, but if they come back, and by the way, you'll hear me when I walk around the brokerage because sometimes people are like, oh, hey, Sonia, this is, Josh Pono. How are you? How are you as salesy? Don't say it. And I even would tell people too, like, well, hey, if they're in a bad mood, but they want to buy a house, will you help them? They're like, yeah, I would. And I'm like, then it's irrelevant how they feel. So don't ask them an irrelevant question. And most certainly, I don't want to have my call start off with, they're like, well, now that you've asked me, how are you? I'm in a negative mood and I'm pissed off and I'm angry about this. What do you want? I don't want to let them go down that road. Now, if they come back, because a lot of them they'll come back and they'll be caught off guard. You'll hear it in their tone. They're like, how are you? If they say, how are you? Do not say, fine. Let me tell you why I'm calling, because then you just let them know you care more about what you want than with them. If they say, how are you back? This is a time to slow down, pause. Well, Josh, what if they hang up on you after? I'll risk it all in this moment. I'm comfortable. If they're going to hang up on me, then they're going to hang up on me down the road. I want to set the precedent that I'm not afraid of that, right? Because again, that fear will become a cancer in your sales process. And so they'll say, oh, well, how are you, Josh? And I told you, I say one of three things. I say, Sonia, I woke up this morning. I was feeling phenomenal, but I can't decide whether it's phenomenal or fantastic. But then I don't really care because I know it's going to get better. Okay. Or I'll say, oh, Sonia, I'm doing lovely. How are you? Right. Or I'll say, I'm loving life and I'm living my dream. And it's cynical and funny because it's like, who the heck is loving? Whose dream was to cold call or call strangers, right? And that plays into the persona of, I love what I'm doing. I'm having a good time. Life is good. You can assume that I'm successful because nobody makes 100 phone calls, gets yelled at 100 times, and is positive. You must have a lot of success. You're right. I do. And that's more about my energy and how I'm approaching it than what I say. Okay. So then they say, they'll say many things. They'll say, well, what's this call regarding? They'll say, do I know you? They'll say, that's good. Why are you calling? No matter what they say, I go right into disarming them. Okay. And if I'm disarming them as a canceled and expired, I might say something along the lines like, listen, I know you've gotten a million phone calls. You probably got realtors hiding in the bushes, chasing you down the street as you drive. I get it. Because what do they say if I don't say that? I've gotten 10 calls. So I'm going to say it before they say it, which says, I know a little bit about you. You don't need to vent to me. I already know. Same thing with Facebook buyers or same thing with Realtor.com buyers. Hey, look. Now, a lot of times, here's what the problem is. People said a million times over to me, Facebook leads suck. If you call a Facebook lead and say, hey, I'm Josh Pono with First Class Real Estate. I'm calling because I spent money on advertising to get you as a lead. And I know you're trying to buy a home. They're like, I'm not trying to buy a home, right? We do that all the time. I hear agents all the time. Well, we were doing some advertising on Facebook and we got your information. And so looks like you're looking to buy a home in San Diego. And they always like, no, I'm not buying a home. And then the agent goes like this, crap lead, right? They must have lied and Facebook lied to me. No, you just triggered them. Again, I use the analogy all the time. Imagine if I went into a restaurant and I saw a woman sitting at her table eating, she's doing her own thing. I walk up and say, hey, I'm Josh. I think you're attractive. I'd like to have babies with you, and I'd like to get married, and I need a decision right now. And then she goes, you're a weirdo. I don't want to talk to you. I'm not interested in marriage. And I look at this restaurant. I'm like, this restaurant's crap. Nobody wants to meet each other here. No, I triggered that. So the same way that analogy is relevant, because that's what we do to our prospects. Go back to the 80% of the people. They're all over the board. The last thing they're going to do is admitting to wanting to buy a home, because guess what? Half of them aren't even convinced they want to. 6% interest rates, prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Half of them don't even know if they want to. They're just in that, I'm just trying to figure it out mode. And I'm nervous mode. It's a big decision. And everybody I keep talking to is trying to get me to do it before I'm ready. Tell me how great of an investment is going to be. So we want to disarm them right away. Psychologically, I want to take that energy and I want to get rid of it. Before I even tell them about what I do or who I am and how I can help them, first I got to just get that guard to stay down for a little bit. Hey, Sonia, listen, I already know. And the tone is like, hey, look, you don't got to tell me. I already know. It's okay. You're safe. You're fine. You're in a safe place. Nobody's going to make you do anything you don't want. It's okay. Just test the water. It's fine. Hey, Sonia, I already know you're likely not looking to buy a home in the near future. I get it. Most of our clients is an important line because it shows that, hey, we work with people just like you, not ready to buy. It's fine. That we meet from Facebook. They're at least 6 to 7 months out from even starting the process. You're safe. You are safe. It's okay. Now, then we transition into customer service and value. Hey, I wanted to introduce myself to you and let you know there's a real person behind the listings online. I want to give you that warm, business friendly. We love our customers. We love helping people. You're important to us. We follow up with everybody at this level. I want to let you know there's a real person behind the listings online. And then I transition into super friendly. Let's talk about something. Hey, how's the home search going, by the way? Disarm them, get them talking. Disarm them, get them talking. Disarm them, get them talking. Okay, and a lot of them will say, because their guard doesn't always just magically like, wow, that was a beautiful script, Josh. I'm going to go ahead and give you my social security number. No, what they do is they go, you know what? I'm just looking. Their guard's still up. It's residual guard. It doesn't come off immediately, right? You got to scrub it off. My guard's still up. I'm just looking. Oh, I'm not buying for 6 months. Oh, I'm thinking about a purchase next year. That is not their real timeline. That is not their real statement. And so again, just right off the bat, no problem. I expect them to say that, right? I expect them to say something. And so no matter what they say, I'm not really interested in buying a home. I'm not really interested in talking to a salesperson. I'm not buying a home for a long time. I'm just looking. I'm in research phase. How'd you get my number? Why are you calling me? Blah, blah, blah. No matter what they say, I use this analogy. If somebody comes into your, let's say you're an ice cream shop business owner, and you've got the best ice cream on the planet. Somebody walks through your doors and says, I'm not really buying ice cream. I just wanted to look at it. You're not going to be like, well, I'm glad you came in. And let me tell you about our 87 custom handmade ice cream. We won this. You still want them to know about your business. You don't go, oh, well, you're not looking to buy. Well, then I don't got time to talk to you. Right? We still want them to know about what we do. We still want to set a really great impression because they maybe know somebody. And plus, they're still lying to us a little bit about it. Well, not lying. They just don't know what their timeline is. So we say, hey, listen, that's great. Whatever they say, doesn't matter. Hey, that's awesome. Hey, I'm never buying a home. In fact, the only reason why I'm researching homes is to tell everybody I know that buying a home is the worst investment ever. Hey, that's awesome. That's great. We focus on educating people in San Diego about the local real estate market and the opportunities. So whenever that may be, so when I don't say you, right? Because if I say you, then they go, I told you I'm not interested. I told you I'm just looking. I told you I'm not buying. But if I say they, well, I'm talking about some imaginary home buyer. I'm talking about somebody else. They can't object to me saying, so when you, so, hey, that's great. We focus on educating on people, not you, because again, I don't need it. They will literally reject everything we say that we make about them. Right now, we're just talking. So, hey, that's great. We focus on educating people in San Diego about the local real estate market and the opportunities. Tell me a buyer that doesn't want an opportunity. Wrong, right? And the opportunities. So when they are ready to buy, whoever they may be, whenever that may be, they are as prepared as humanly possible. Ever met a buyer that's like, I don't want to prepare. I just want this chaotic transaction that's going to go wrong and be stressful. No, we say, that's cool. We know what buyers want. We focus on that. We deliver it to them at the highest level so that when the opportunity for them, whenever that may be, and then we go right back. So disarm them, get them talking. Disarm them, get them talking. Navigating this awkward first little dance we're doing together. Disarm them, get them talking. And we say, hey, by the way, do you currently rent or do you own a home? Has nothing to do with buying a home, but it does tell us what kind of conversation to have pretty quickly. Are you a seller, a homeowner? Because now I really want to market to you. Are you a first-time home buyer? Now I know how to approach that conversation as an agent, right? Because I speak to a homeowner differently than I do a renter. Notice I didn't say a buyer or a seller. There's a mislabel in the industry. Sellers can be buyers. Buyers can be. It's really homeowners and renters. You either own a home, and I want to be in business with you because you're going to sell your home sometime. Right? But you either own a home and I really want, there's multiple opportunities, or you're a renter and there's one opportunity. I want to know that early on. Now, I'm always looking to differentiate ourselves. Carrie, you'll love this. You can even use this against us. Ha 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 ha. But I'm always looking to differentiate myself with the market, because if I were to say to somebody, if they're a homeowner, right? And people may have asked this question before, and if I say to them, hey, has anybody done a comparative market analysis for you? Or does anybody told you what the value of your home is? Most of the time we ask that question, they'll give us a response of, yep, I looked online, I got my Zestimate. And we're like, cool, that's the most accurate information you could ever get on the planet. Good job, right? Joking. So they'll say, oh, yeah, I got online estimates. Yeah, I got this. Yeah, I talked to an agent. They already offered it. But by me asking a question that they already have the answer to, it makes me the same as everybody else. So what I did when I wrote this script is I rebranded our CMA process. Rather than call it a CMA, and this is when you know when the clients are using your acronyms, it's time to change up the language. And I learned this when I asked somebody, hey, has anybody showed you the value of your house? And he's like, yeah, I had an agent do a CMA for me the other day. And I was like, uh-oh. So what we call our CMA is we call it a homeowner's. If they're a homeowner and they're trying to buy a home, right, because they're online, then that means they're looking to sell and buy. So we called it a homeowner's listing power purchase analysis report. And I call it that because nobody's ever heard of it. And so if I ask them that, I get one of two responses. They either say, no, what's that? AKA, nobody's offered me that. You have something that nobody else has offered. Or B, they go, no, but I don't need that because here's my situation, which then just gives me a bunch of ammunition to help them. No, actually, I don't need that because I'm not really going to sell the house. I'm just going to rent it out and turn it into a rental. So I'm just looking to buy a replacement house. Thank you for telling me what's important to you. Right. And so it's a trick is the wrong word, but by using the right language, I can inspire them to give me information. It's a way to extract information without being pushy. And the best part is that most of them are like, man, I don't even know what that is. Great. Now you know that I talk about things that nobody else talks about. The funny part about it is when I first implemented this system 9 months ago and I was teaching the agents, they're like, Josh, what is that? I've never heard of it. I was like, I know, I just made it up. I just made it up. And the best part is no other agents know what we're talking about either. So if they were to go to another agent like, hey, can you give me a homeowner's list power purchase analysis report? They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Great. That helps me differentiate myself. Okay. And so they'll say, no, I've never even heard of that. What's that? And we say, listen, before you sell a home, and this is where you make it sound like the biggest thing ever. Like this is like, wait. You're trying to make toast without a toaster? You've never heard of a toaster before? Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Wait. You take frozen chicken nuggets and you put it in the microwave. Have you ever heard of an air fryer? Oh my gosh, it's going to wreck. You will never throw away fries at a restaurant again because you'll know how to make them taste phenomenal 4 hours later. You don't want soggy, reheated fries. You got to get an air fryer, right? It's like that type of energy. Wow, okay, listen, before you sell your home, it is critical that you go through that process so that you get the most amount of money with the least amount of stress for your home on your preferred timeline. Disarm them, give them some value, get them back to talking. In a perfect world, when do you want to be in your new home? Okay, there's this dancing scenario that we do where it's disarm them, get them talking, disarm them, get them talking, give them some value, get them talking. I'm not going to ask them to marry me yet. I'm not going to ask them to commit to me yet. I'm not going to ask them to buy yet, because all I want to do in the very beginning is I want to turn that cold call into a warm conversation. The moment we turn that cold call into a warm conversation, our confidence goes up, our energy goes up, our personalities go through the roof, right? We get excited. These are all really good things that lead to higher levels of success. And if we can turn every call that's cold into warm, all of a sudden prospecting becomes a very lucrative and fun and enjoyable process. Now, the challenge is for a lot of people is in the beginning, you're working a new system. Anytime you're working a new system and you have an old system or an old process, there's habits that come out. And so that's the challenge for some people, of breaking some of those habits. But like the results of working this program, like to the T and not, they're pretty drastic. So like, you know, we launched the scripting and the system program probably 9 months ago. You know, the first 90 days, anytime you do a lead, like think about it, if you get a lead on the internet, you're 90 days away from getting a paycheck. And so Diana Soto, she's an agent in our office, newer agent, you know, not a lot of experience. She just loves systems and processes, and she had never been taught anything like this. She had sold maybe 6, 7 homes before in 2.5 years before she came to our brokerage. And, you know, she's selling a home a month, and she sold 8 in the last 7 months. She's in her 8th deal right now. And all of them were from working this process. She's like 100% on point. She became my new agent trainer in my office because she was doing the thing so well that she could coach it and train it. Now the new agents are learning from her, which, by the way, when you have a system like this and you're implementing, a lot of times it seems like I can't struggle to grow, I can't replace myself. Well, when it's dialed in like this, then it's really easy to train it. I mean, I'm literally reading it to you. At some point, Ryan will do in these meetings, because how many times can you hear this before you can sell it? Right. And so again, every time we build a system, it then becomes scalable so that the next person. So Diana's doing it. She's selling a home a month and building pipeline and got 4 or 5 people in the pipeline. Well, the next person is Paul. Paul's like 95% there, but Paul has all these responsibilities and he can't tap into all the meetings and get all the lessons. He's selling like 4. Then you got the next one and the next one. The further you dilute it, and then I've got a couple of agents that they have old habits and they keep changing the words. They keep adding, they're not breaking the habits, and they're only getting like 1 sale. And so it goes back to the words we use can either trigger good responses or bad responses. And that's an empowering thing. Now, once you've, and by the way, I mean, the same thing, open houses, follow up. I mean, it's always this game of disarm them, ask them a question, get them talking, disarm them. So when you're, you know, you don't have to use this exact approach. You may not like this approach from it just doesn't feel like you. It's more important about the formula. So if you're going to say something at an open house, think to yourself what you're saying and write it down. And think about, okay, you know, oh, you guys are coming to my open house because you guys are looking to buy a home? No, we're just looking. Well, don't ask them if they're looking to buy a home, right? Because nobody wants to admit to that, because they're afraid if they admit that you want to buy a home, guess what you're going to try to do? You're going to try to sell them a home, but they're in that 80%. And here's the beautiful part. Well, Josh, you're saying that they're 6 to 7 months out. What if they're 3 months out? Or what if they do want to buy? So many salespeople are afraid to say, well, I know you're probably way out. Well, guess what happens with the really motivated people? They don't go, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't buy next month. Maybe I should put all my plans on hold. Not because we said one of the line. They go, oh no, we're actually looking to buy pretty soon. Thank you. Now we know that we got somebody hot on the line, right? So again, they'll correct us when we say, hey, actually, you know, we know you're probably 6 or 7 months out from even starting the process. They're like, actually, no, we're touring homes now. We're looking to make offers. Oh, fantastic. Well, now I know to change up my conversation and be more aggressive or more assertive and ask more direct questions because I've got a really hot, motivated client and I want to service that client the best way as soon as possible. Any questions on this so far? Okay, so I always train there's 3 parts of every call. And by the way, one little cool trick, if you're building this out for your teams or you're building out for the next agent to work the process or you want to get somebody to work your leads, I always link the next part of the process within that. So it's like literally they can just read it. Because here's what also happens. Oh, I lost the script. It wasn't in front of me. I couldn't find it, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, great. It's just right here. You just click. Okay. The second part of the conversation, a lot of people call this the qualifying part of the conversation. They're like for me, there's 3 parts in a successful sales call. You got the cold call conversion where you're converting the cold call into a warm call. You got the discovery questions and discovery process. I don't like the word qualifying. And the reason why I don't like the word qualifying is because it's kind of like conceited a little bit. I got to decide whether or not you're good enough to work with. I got to find out if you're qualified. I got to find out what your worth is. I like discovery because it's more about discovering how we're going to help them. And it's more discovering about how do we help them on the best timeline. And it's more about learning about what pains they have in their life, what wants they have, what needs they have, so we can offer them solutions that are worthy of a meeting. Okay, so we call it the discovery process. Okay, here's the goal of the discovery process. 1, build rapport. Sometimes you can win just because they like you. Okay, and we do that by opening up the conversation with great questions, getting them to think, sharing details of their life. I want to identify their timeline very early on because I'm going to talk differently with somebody that's 2 years out than I will with somebody 3 months out. Okay, I want to identify quickly as well. Are they committed to an agent already exclusively? I can't tell you how many calls I've had where I spend 20 minutes on the phone with them and I'm like, hey, I think we should meet and talk real estate. They're like, honestly, Josh, you're awesome, but my wife is my real estate agent. I'm like, darn it. I'm not winning that battle. Right? So when I write out the process, I'm thinking about how do I find out who's really good to talk to, who's worth the time, right? Because there are a lot of looky-loos and tire kickers in internet leads, and I want them to identify quickly so I can dictate how much time I spend with them. Okay, next, once I've done those things, I want to create urgency and find a reason to meet with them sooner rather than later. I want to turn every appointment into an in-person meeting, right? Because we know most of the time, if you can meet them, they're going to go with you, right? We know most people go with the first person they meet. So the more I can find a reason, a motivation, a value for them to meet with me, I can win more often. And last but not least, if they're really far out and it's not possible to meet with them, I want to find a way to build value for a follow-up reason. Let me give an example. You know, Josh, we're really not looking to buy right now because we got to file our tax returns for next year. And we have 2 years until we can buy. We got to file our tax returns. Awesome. Let me ask you this. When are you meeting with your accountant? Let me ask you this. When do you plan to file? Gotcha. So you're going to plan to file in March. What would hold you back from hitting that timeline? Well, we're also waiting for some money to come in. And so gotcha. So right around March, right? I want to find out so that on the next time I can call them and go, hey, it's March. Did you get the taxes done? How'd that go? Right? I want to have something relevant to follow up with them rather than well, just call me later. No, because then next time I call you, I'm like, hey, remember I'm the guy that we talked to 5 months ago and you thought I was cool, I promise. And no, I want to be like, hey, we spoke back in November. You talked about wanting to buy a home. You talked about taxes. How did the tax filing go? I'm following up with you with a relevant reason. Okay. When I go through these questions, okay, they're all designed again to find out where they're at. So I start off with, in a perfect world, when do you want to be in your new home? Have you already started visiting open houses or touring homes in person? Have you made any offers on any homes yet? Have you already exclusively committed to a real estate agent, or is that up in the air? If they say I'm working with an agent, the first question I always ask, out of curiosity, how did you meet the agent? Tells me how deep the relationship is. Well, I met the agent at this open house, and I never met them before, and they were nice, and I worked with them. Versus, I've worked with this agent for 20 years. They've helped me buy 7 homes. It lets me know where the relationship's at. Okay, most people don't have agents when you're doing internet lead gen that they've exclusively signed with. And so the first thing I want to ask them is, hypothetically, what are the top 3 things you want your agent to do for you in the process? I want to ask this question every single time. Every single time. Because some people, they have pain. They've worked with other agents before, and they're like, you know what? This last agent I worked for, communication was horrible. I want somebody that's going to communicate with me consistently. Great. What else? Well, I want somebody that's going to go out there and fight for me, because the last agent I had, they had commission breath, and they always were pushing me to buy, and blah, 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 blah. Gotcha. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? If they give me 1, I say what else? If they give me 2, I say what else? If they give me 3, I say what else? If they give me 4, I say what else? Because these are all the reasons why they're going to hire me. And I don't talk about things that aren't relevant to them. If they never mention negotiating, I never talk about how I'm a great negotiator. It's irrelevant to them. Right? Okay. The other areas, I'm setting them up for the appointment. I'm finding areas of, again, I want to find reasons for us to meet. Hey, have you already started shopping around for the best interest rates, or started working with a lender to make sure you get the best loan? No, not yet. What are the things that concern you most about buying or selling a home? Josh, why do you want to bring up the negativity? I don't, but I do want to know, listen, it's okay for a doctor to say, what concerns you about your health? Why are you here today? Why haven't you already come to me? What's been holding you back? I want to know the obstacles in my way to help them accomplish the goal. Well, you know what? I got a credit score issue. You know what? I'm really scared about the monthly payment because I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm paying $3,000 a month for rent. I'm looking at mortgages and they're like $6,000. I want to know about that so that when I provide them with a reason to meet, I address it. Okay, what are the things that concern you most? We talked about, has anyone taught you where to look to find the best deals online, or are you only looking at homes online? Why? Well, I have off-market inventory. I've been investing in cancel and expireds for a long time. I can leverage that. I got other properties. I got a reason for us to meet. The San Diego real estate market can be very competitive, and most buyers end up losing out on many homes, which ends up costing them a ton of time, money, and is stressful. Has anybody taught you about the contracts and how to use them to make the best offers that sellers want to accept? And by the way, I'm also highlighting issues in other agents' processes, because most agents, when they do their buyer consultations, they just sell. They don't educate them about the market. They don't educate them about the contracts. They don't educate them about the process. And then they rush them into showing them home. So if I can say, has anybody taught you about the contracts? And they're like, no, I've been concerned about it. Really? So the agent you met at the open house, they didn't teach you anything. They just started showing you homes and trying to get you to make an offer, but they never taught you about the contracts? Well, I know, I've been really uncomfortable about it. Wow. Highlight pain, differentiate. Now, granted, if they're in an assigned listing agreement or they're in a signed agreement, we always back off. There's no client ever worth risking your license. There's no reason to ever be poaching people. Good things come to those people who do good things, and reputation there's a lot of agents. It's a small community, but if they have talked to other agents, if they've worked with other agents, they're not in an exclusive agreement, and the other agent is dropping the ball that's causing them stress, and we can provide solutions that they want to hear about, well, it's a free market. And it's about what's best for the client, not about the agent's ego or their personal feelings. Okay. The market's has been moving in a different direction since COVID. Has anybody used the actual data? Now, here's the thing. If I ask them, hey, has anybody reviewed the market with you? They'll say something like this. Oh, yeah, I know all about the market. Oh, yeah? You've been listening to CNN? Right? They don't actually study this data. They don't actually pull the statistics from the MLS. They don't actually understand the 5 driving metrics that actually move the housing market: demand, inventory, closed sales, interest rates, affordability, how those 5 factors play into the 10-year trend. They don't know the market. They're not in real estate. So I have to ask the question again. I have to ask the question in a way that elicits a good response. Hey, the market's been moving in a different direction since COVID. Has anybody used, because if I say, hey, is anybody sharing the market? Oh, yeah, I look online all the time. Well, then that says to them, they have access to all the information. I want them to think that I got special information, because I do. You can't get in the MLS and pull data from InfoSparks or from all these things if you're not licensed and don't have a membership. I do have access to special data. Hey, has anyone used, and I want to say it again, like hey, has anybody talked to you about an air fryer? Like, I want to use that. Hey, has anyone used the actual data coming from the MLS to educate you on exactly when is the best time to what you're looking for in regards to best prices? You get a lot of no's when you use these types of conversations. And so then what happens is we move to the third portion of the setting appointment, right? I want to make them an offer so good they can't say no to it. I want it to sound like you'd be crazy not to say no, okay? And so all those things that we're gathering are the ammunition. Now, so this is a big mistake that agents make all the time. And this is a process. If somebody's like, no, nobody's ever talked to me about the market. What do you know about the market? Agent goes, oh, let me tell you about this. Back in 1974, there was a, right? And they go into this whole listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And then the client's like, cool, man, that was great information. Hey, do you want to meet? No, you just gave me everything. Why would I meet? Hey, has anybody told you about off-market properties? No, that sounds exciting. Do you have off-market? Yeah, I got off-market properties. I do this for people. I cold call, I text, I email, I door knock. You want to meet about it? No, you just told me about it. I'm good. Right? There's nothing in it for them to meet. We gave them all, never buy the cow if you get the milk for free. Right? The same thing applies in setting appointments. Right? We have to leverage that in the reason why they're going to show up. Give them the reason why they're going to show up. So, for example, let's say that person was like, I want an agent that communicates. I want an agent that educates me on the market. I'm looking for the best interest rate, and I want this to be a stress-free process. I could then say, Sonia, let me ask you this. If I could show you a way to have an agent that is 100% committed to finding you the best price on a home, they were always on your side. They crystal clearly communicated the entire step of the process, so you were always confident. They connected you with the best lenders that could get you the best interest rate. And most importantly, they put together a strategic timeline so you would know when to get the best home at the best price. If I could do all of that for you in a short meeting, would that be of value to you? I mean, yeah, how could I say no to that? Great. Let's do this. Okay, I use the if I could show you a way to buy the best home at the best price on your preferred timeline, would that be, and I can put a strategic plan together that's perfect for you and show you how we communicate, how we negotiate, how we blah, 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 whatever it is that they wanted, whatever it is what they were missing. I take all of that and say, if I could show you a way to get everything you want, solve all of your problems, and have a truly amazing experience, would that be of value to you? Well, yeah, that would be amazing. Okay, I got a yes from them. I instantly close at that moment. Hey, let's do this. We have a process called if they're a military buyer, we have a process called our military buyer consultation. If they're selling and buying, hey, we have a process called our list your home for most amount of money and buy the house for the cheapest amount of money consultation. Hey, we have a how to get your home sold for the most amount of money consultation. We have a first-time home buyer consultation. We have a VA buyer home consultation. We have an RCFE home business consultation. Whatever it is that's relevant to them. Do I want to get generic information as a consumer, or do I want to get specific answers? Why do people hate chat support or reading a help manual? Because we don't want generic stuff. We want the specific stuff. So make it specific to them. Make it feel like it was written and designed for them. It's going to be more valuable. Do I want to go to a buyer consultation, or do I want to go to a first-time military relocation from out of the area home buyer consultation? I want the one that's specifically made up for me. And so I say, let's do this. We have a process. We do it all the time. It's designed for you. It's exactly what you want. It's purely an educational meeting. Well, Josh, you're going to try to get them to convince them to buy a home. If I tell them it's designed for people that want to buy homes right now, they might go, well, I'm not ready to buy a home. I'm going to wait. So I want to, again, disarm and keep them engaged. Hey, it's purely an educational meeting to make sure that the entire process is smooth and you walk away with clarity on what needs to be done and when. Not do it now, not do it on my timeline. What needs to be done and when? It can be done in person. It can be done over Zoom. We cover everything from the current state of the market to how to get the best home at the best price, to how to find the off-market deals, to how to work with an agent that clearly communicates, to how to work with the best negotiation, to how to get the best loan. Decision maker. Would it be you, or would you want somebody else to come with you as learn as well? Well, my dad's going to be a part of the process. Great, bring pops. Well, my wife's involved. Great, let's get her involved. That way everybody's on the same page. Okay, options closed. I don't want to ask them when would work, because now they got to go through this whole process of when would work. I say, hey, is it better to meet during the week or on the weekend? Oh, this would definitely be better on the weekend. Great, would it be better for Saturday or Sunday? Saturday would definitely be a better day. Gotcha. Then I look at my calendar and I look for the most convenient times for me, because I know on my calendar I got to work. I got to go do hockey on Sunday at 4 for my son. So I'm gonna go, hey, the Saturday at 1 o'clock at work, or would you like to do it at 9 a.m.? Which one would work better for you? But I'm really just giving them the two best times that work for me. Because if I've done a great job of making them an offer so good they can't refuse, they're going to show up at my times, but I can still make it look like it's best for them. I give them the days, I give them the week or the weekend, I give them the day, and I go here. Then I set the expectation of what happens. And by the way, I get the definitely. Gotcha. So Sonia, 3 p.m. Thursday definitely works for you. I want to test them on it. What I don't want to hear is, yeah, Thursday should work. It should work? No. You call your doctor and you go, hey, doc, you got any appointments? I've got Thursday at 2. Yeah, Thursday around 2 should be fine. He goes, all right, well, I'll just sit and wait for you. No. They're like, so it works for you? No, and then they confirm. Hey, I'm going to send you a calendar invite. Please confirm that you receive when you get it. I want them engaging with me. I'm going to send you a calendar invite. I want you to confirm it when you got it. I'm also going to confirm with you hours prior as a reminder, any question before I go. Then I'm going to end strong. If I talk to somebody for 20 minutes, they're not going to remember everything. So I want the last thing to stick out in their head is what's going to happen next. Hey, listen, Sonia, we look forward to providing you with some actionable items that will help you solve A, B, and C problems. It'll give you 1, 2, and 3 solutions. Next time we talk, everything's going to become super clear. It's going to be the most valuable meeting you've had ever in regards to real estate. Have a great rest of your day. Okay, there is the turning the call into the warm call, the cold call conversion. That's step 1. Who cares about anything else? Focus on the steps. Turn the call into a conversation. Run through the questions that you need to make sure they're a qualified and motivated person. See, have it. Make sure you discover the reasons on why you can help them. And then set the solid appointment. And again, don't give away the milk. Here's an example. Well, Josh, what do you think about the market? You know, that's a great question. It's been doing some interesting things. That's exactly why we need to meet. Hey, Josh, I want an agent that does A, B, and C. Tell me what you do that's special. Hey, you know what, Sonia? That's exactly why we need to meet. Well, Josh, what makes you special against all the other agents? That's exactly why we need to meet. Hey, Josh, why should I come visit your brokerage? That's exactly why we need to meet. If you give them the answer, they will justify why it's not important for them to show up. If you tell them what makes you special, they'll say that's not that special. But if you stand firm in that space going, hey, that's exactly why we need to meet. Hey, I've got 3 strategies that'll help you get the best home at the best price. Let's go ahead and meet on Thursday. Well, what are your strategies? That's exactly why we need to meet. Well, I don't know if I want to meet. If I could show you 3 strategies that would guarantee you get the best home at the best price on your preferred timeline with no stress, would that be worth your time at the meeting? Yes, it would, but what are those strategies? Great, let's go ahead and set that meeting. That's exactly why we need to meet. And you will be shocked when they go, all right, fine. Questions? Valuable? What are some gems that you guys took away that maybe you notice you're doing, or what are some things that you think that will make your work or business or calls easier based on something you learned today?
For me, it's just being more relaxed when you have that initial opening and not jumping in. It's okay to be my natural self.
Yeah, you'll be surprised that I almost have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Like I almost go so slow, go ahead, run from me. If you're gonna run, I'm not gonna chase you. And the moment you get into that space, you'll realize that they can sense it. And so they just sit and they go, the reason why people run from us on cold calls is because we're coming at them so fast. They're like, I gotta get out of here. But then they just kind of sit there. They're like, they picked up the phone. They obviously got some time.
Right. So that's what I wrote down, to disarm them.
Yeah.
Disarm them with the kindness.
Josh, I have a great consultation that you can sit through, and we can go over all this. When are you available?
Yeah. Are you setting an appointment with me, or is that's what you're taking away?
I like the consultation idea, at least for my uses.
Yeah, because you do a lot of commercial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody's asking me about commercial, right, and especially in your world where there's numbers and there's returns and cap rates and it's financial and it's very business-like in the setting, hey, listen, if I could show you all the returns and get you crystal clarity on the investment, whether or not it's going to work for you and be a good vehicle for you long-term, it's going to match all your goals, would that be something you'd be interested in learning about? Yeah, great. Let's go ahead and do this. I do this every single day. It's called my 1031 or, commercial expansion, whatever you want to call it. When are you available to meet? And then the consultation becomes your presentation of how you run the numbers and how you educate them and how you teach them how you look and your ROI calculator, your cap rate calculator, your all that stuff.
Yeah, that was really good info. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. I'm glad you got value out of it. Carrie, you get anything out of it? She's stunned with all the value.
Sorry, I just keep trying to push the audio button and it didn't open up. I'm sorry about that. No, it's good. It just it just obviously it all just kind of rolls off your tongue. It's all just very second nature for you, and that's awesome. But you're, the thing that kind of put a question mark over my head is you're talking about what if I could show you this and that and this and that.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, but can I show them that? So I'm sure you've got more, more that you have that you train your agents in, which I know I just have to dig in more, I guess. But I liked, there were a lot of things that you said that I jotted down that I thought were really good. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Here's what I'll give you on that, because that is something that you're not the only one that feels that way. And what a big holdup for somebody is like, I don't want to be dishonest, right? I don't want to say I can do something that I can't do. And so then the conviction on the energy drops, right? And you're like, well, all right. So, and so for me, I feel the same way that you do. And what I teach the agents is what happens is we start focusing on, just like everything else, we learn it as we go, right? But you want to learn it in the process. And the best way for you to learn it is to put yourself in that position where you start thinking, okay, how am I going to show you to get the best home at the best price? Well, for example, how do I show them to get the best home at the best price? Well, I teach them about the market and how if you're in an appreciating market and you can secure the home for $3,000 and there's 7 buyers here that are going to go buy the next one for more and more and more and more, part of getting the best home at the best price is not going, well, I'm not coming up $1,000 to buy it. I'm going to miss on it. And then I'm going to go spend $12,000 on the next one because they want more money. And now I'm paying more money because I didn't trust my agent. And so part of it is it's to get the best home at the best price. You get all of the stuff that you probably already talked to people about, right? We get fully underwritten, right? Because when you're fully underwritten and you can remove the loan contingency because you've already got a fully underwritten approval, they give you a better price than the person that only has a pre-approval and hasn't gone through the process because they know you're more secure in the money. And so just that act right there, even though we don't frame it that way of like, well, hey, it's a nice fee, but we frame it of, listen, if you want the best home at the best price, one, you got to be dialed in so that you can make an offer with the quickest timelines, because the quicker the timelines, the more preparation of the buyer. That's why cash buyers get a better deal, because it's guaranteed money and they can perform quickly. What does a seller want? They want a buyer that's confident in the process. They want a buyer that when they see a house, they go for it. They don't got to think about it for 2 days and can we do a second showing? They don't like that because that shows you're not all the way in. They want the person that fell in love with the house head over heels, right? So we talk about, listen, if you're 99% certain you're going to make an offer on that home and you love that home, but you want to see a second showing, let's get the offer in, let's get the offer accepted, and then we'll immediately schedule a second showing once they can't change their mind. And if you don't love the house, we'll cancel. You haven't even put the EMD in. It's no big deal. But let's not do the little things that end up making you look like a wishy-washy buyer. So I would imagine, Carrie, that, you know, sometimes when I say that, they're like, ooh, does Josh have some magical special like process where he shows people how to get the best deal and stuff? Well, no, the way you get the best home at the best price with the least amount of stress is you learn about the market, you trust your agent, you do the right things by getting your fully underwritten approval, you go see homes as soon as they come out, you make an offer within 48 hours, you write a clean offer, you don't wishy-wash, and then you do all your inspections and all that stuff, and then you negotiate like crazy because you don't go get the free estimate, you go pay $75 to get the report so I can then leverage it, right? Like all these things that you do already, you're already teaching them that to it. So I would say, you know, you absolutely can, but it just comes back to reframing the language a little bit because you're already doing it. But the only times you can't do it is when the buyers don't trust you, they won't listen to you, they won't do what they say, so they end up having to pay more, and then they won't go up more and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and then asking all the questions, like you were saying, like the what else and what else and what else. You get all the information, you gather the information, and then you can prepare what answers those situations for them. It's just getting the confidence to go forward and do all that stuff and kind of making it, you know, going through it more and exposing myself to it more, I think is probably what's necessary.
100%. Here's what I'll tell you guys, and I'll end on this. And I know this is scary because, and by the way, the more you do it, the less scary it is. So I've always been like this. I've always learned for me that the best experiences were in the game. Okay. And the most painful failures were when I was embarrassed the most. And the ones that caused me to create quick action to get better was when the pain really hurt. And so for me, I would go through the same thing of like, man, I don't know if I want to say that yet because I don't have the experience. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it and I'll figure it out when I get in there. And one of two things is going to happen. Either A, I'm going to do a great job and I win, or B, I'm going to go through some amount of pain where I may be embarrassed in front of the client the first time, but that embarrassment is going to make it so that I don't want to ever do it again. And I'm going to get instantly better. And so I win either way. And what for me, even like when I opened up my brokerage, somebody asked me one time, they're like, do you know anything about, brokerages? And like, do you even know anything about errors and omission insurance? I was like, nah, but I didn't know about car insurance one time either. Like, I'm sure I'll figure that, like, I'm just going to go figure it out. And I've always had a track record where people are like, man, you're moving quickly. And it's like, I'm so willing to just throw myself into the fire. And if I get embarrassed or if I make a mistake, I'm going to do everything in my power to fix it. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it. And it's a way to grow faster. So you get to choose your level of comfort. There's no right or wrong answer. But I'm always just kind of like, I'm somebody that likes to see people like test themselves and go out and do more, because I believe that everybody's way more capable than our limiting belief. And myself, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface, right? I got to be better than this. And so what I always tell people is like, just throw yourself out there, and usually you're going to find that you're way more competent and way more capable than your limiting thoughts or that nervousness or hesitance and repetition. And when you do see me, it does roll off the tongue because I've done it a million times and I've trained it. But I was a rookie too, and I used to say it unconfidently. And then when I would go do the buyer consultations, but I did a lot of them fast. I failed fast. I grew fast, and then I got better. And then I was like, oh. Because it also unlocks. When you practice it at home or you practice it in the privacy and nobody's around, you're like thinking about how you think they'll respond and how you'll respond. And then when you're in the game and you're in the consultation, you start to learn and dial it down. You're like, and then it'll just click and you're like, oh, that's how I do it. And then you'll just fly. So anyway, just my little 2 cents of always encouraging people. Hey, listen, and I do this with Ryan. Sometimes he'll go to do like a Facebook post. And he's like, I want you to review it to see if you like it. I'm like, just throw it out there. He's like, what is not good? I was like, people will tell us. And then we'll learn. And then we'll know what the people like, because even if they tell us what they don't like, we then learn what they do like. And so we'll get smarter, and we'll spend no time wondering what we could do that's perfect. We'll just go do it. And he's like, well, what if it's bad? I'm like, it probably will be, but we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And then we just go and go and go and go and go. So if you need any help, let us know. We'll see you guys next week on Wednesday. We're going to keep doing these. Invite friends if you'd like. I started this one webinar for nationwide, and it started out with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. It grew to about 100. And so if you really like it and you want to invite people, or if you feel like, you're talking to agents and you think they would get some value, bring them. That would be awesome. And if you need anything, let us know. And next week, we're talking about CRMs and systems. So we've talked about, we're doing an over level of like building value, and then we're going to dive deeper and deeper so that we get more value out to you. Next week, we're going to talk about systems and CRMs. What we know is most agents have CRMs or feel guilty about needing one, and they have one, they're not using it. There's some really cool tools that most CRMs have. There's some critical little things that don't take hardly any time, and you can implement them to save you a bunch of time and also give better value to service. So I'm going to go through some CRM basics and some fundamentals that you can implement pretty quickly over the next few weeks. And it'll drastically increase some opportunity to your clients, and it'll also help you stay a little more organized. So it'll be pretty valuable in regards to just saving time and energy. So I'll be talking to you guys about that. Have a phenomenal week. Be well. Catch up with you soon. Happy Wednesday.
Thanks again, Josh.
You're welcome, guys. Be well.